Well, but I'm assuming you guys are here because y'all have done all of your due diligence and since the meeting with Mark and I.
Yes.
Wonderful.
These are the guys the group that took over the Mando School. Review.
Have they sold the property?
Huh?
Have they sold the property? I don't seem to see the for sale signs on the property.
What's that?
Across from the cemetery.
No,
They haven't sold it?
no.
Am I just not looking in the right place?
No, that was the Davis family still owns it.
Oh, they haven't sold it yet?
It's for sale.
I know that, yes.
I just think they're trying to make it more attractive.
Yeah.
You know, they're cleaning
They
it
have
up.
the board of commissioners
Hey,
meeting
Mark.
tomorrow morning at 8, right?
What?
Which piece are you talking about?
The Davis property,
The schoolhouse site?
the old fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds, I know,
That's the
yeah.
one we, yeah.
Has it sold, do you know?
No.
Should we?
Do you know if it's sold?
Not yet.
Yeah, no, I didn't
No,
know.
I
Because
did-
you still have the two markers there, right?
I still got one, I got one more to get out.
The big one?
All right, I got it.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
well.
but I'm finding a place to put it in.
So,
You ready?
We don't have a quorum yet.
okay.
Bud, I thought Bud said he was coming.
What?
The only person I've heard from was, Lynn Turk.
Is she coming?
And Cam,
No.
Oh, darn.
and, Miss Bellamy said she would not make it. She's stuck in traffic.
Stuck in traffic.
So hopefully Cynthia shows up so we can have a quorum. If
Yeah.
not, we will.
Yeah, but then I read something in here that it said, let me look at this. I thought you only need 3 people to have a quorum.
I thought I read
Four.
that somewhere too.
Yeah,
Is that the newest ordinance where they upped the?
Yeah.
We didn't have to have certain titles for
Yeah,
things?
yes.
Actually, I think I have the ordinance in our backup.
Oh,
Typically, it's half.
quorum, 3 members of the advisory board shall constitute a quorum.
All right, so that means we're good. Let me look at-
1, 2, 3.
yeah, I thought I had read that somewhere.
Well, just a second, I'll be right back.
Well, yeah, it says shall
Is everybody
consist of
good?
5 members with 2 alternates, so.
But, let's see, the agenda for today. I know I had that somewhere. Oh, right here, you gave us a whole nother one. Woo-hoo! That's good for me.
That must be part of the amendment.
What?
It went from 4 to 3.
Yes, it is, it is,
Because initially it was 4.
yeah.
My bad, I apologize.
Glad somebody else read all that stuff, because I didn't.
I read it
I'll be the
quickly.
first one to.
I read it quickly and I remembered, oh, look, it only need 3 for a quorum. Woo-hoo.
The
Oh, and there's Cynthia.
Initially, when it was submitted, it was 4.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I was so confused. But
Sir,
maybe other reasons as well.
the Forest Development Council is at 9 AM. The regular board meeting starts at 1 PM.
Okay.
And there's a value adjustment
I think you have
board meeting. Oh, that's Wednesday. Yeah. So the board, regular board meeting
I think
starts
we
at
have-
1.
Okay, great.
Does she have it over there? Does she have all of the backup and agenda and everything?
Yes, yep.
Do I need to sign in here?
No,
Yeah.
No, do that
Hey,
with the,
hey Cynthia,
attendance.
how you doing?
Is this me?
yes, ma'am.
So should I just slam my hand down instead of the gavel?
Not giving you a hammer gavel.
Are we ready?
It's 4:02.
All right, I'm gonna call this, meeting of the Historical Resource Advisory Board. Call to order. If everyone will stand and face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Play ball.
All right, for roll call. Bud Osborne, absent. Paul Grannon,
Present?
Candace Bellamy McPherson, absent. Catherine Turner Thompson,
Present.
Cynthia King,
Here.
Melissa Bowermaster,
Present.
Lynn Turk is absent. Mark Hammer,
Here.
and myself, Gina Eason. We have a quorum.
Good.
And we're gonna do the historic preservation ordinance.
Well, I have one question. Let's see, I was wondering maybe if we could hold off on some of this stuff here. And, let's see, because all of this is my stuff. Does anybody, I was wondering, chairman, staff? I don't know, does anybody have any other questions or comments before I start rolling into this? If I can ask that, I don't know.
If I may,
Okay.
can we take, Mr. Chairman, can we take D through H, move them to the end of the agenda, discuss the meeting dates, open to public, staff comments, and then after K, revert back to D through H?
Thank you.
So we'll move on to I.
Meeting dates? Is this for our next meeting?
Do we know what it
Need
is?
to plan the meetings for the remainder of the year so I can get the rooms reserved. And I can check real quick and see what we have, if Mondays are good for everyone to continue. Next meeting would be, if we do 4 in the year, would be in March.
Yes. Right.
Okay, we have Monday, March the 3rd, Monday, March the 10th, or Monday, March the 24th.
Are we doing the first Monday or the second Monday? March,
That's for you to decide.
this is the second Monday, right, of
Yes,
November?
it's the ninth. We can
This
do the
is
second
December.
Monday again.
Sounds good.
The room's available March the 3rd, which is the first Monday, and if that's the Monday that we would like to stick with, I can gather those dates.
Okay.
Okay.
If everybody's conducive for the first Monday. For
Gina-
March, July, yes.
Could I open a quick discussion about our meeting dates and the quantity of dates and reasons herefor and such and this and that?
Yes.
Per ordinance and state regulations, as a board, advisory board, with, as it's described now, we have to meet a minimum of 4 times a year as an advisory board. The prior board had met 6 times a year. They met every other month. If it said 4 meetings a year, we'd be meeting every 3 months. I'd like to also bring forward or keep in mind the fact that part of the reason for the advisory board is to discuss any permit applications that come before the board. If we do set meetings every 3 months, that would mean some permit applications may go 90 days before it goes before the permit, before it goes before the historical review board. Also, if for some reason we fall where we do not have a quorum on one of our set 4 yearly meetings, that will put us in a bind to scramble to create the 4th meeting. If we come forward with 6 meetings throughout the year, it would give us leniency to have a mishap with a non-quorum meeting not affecting state guidelines. And it also eliminate a 90-day period for permit applications if we did have some come before us. It's for y'all to discuss. I just wanted to bring that forward.
Well, I think it's a good thing to bring up for discussion, so now we're talking about every 2 months that we were gonna meet.
And that would give us 6 meetings a year.
All right,
But if we didn't have anything at one certain time, then we wouldn't need to have the meeting, right?
Correct.
Correct. We could still skip a meeting if,
Okay, yeah.
We could
If
have them
there was no
scheduled on the
reason.
books, but then we could cancel the meeting because there was nothing that needed to be heard or that you didn't have anything at that
all
time.
right, well, let's look at the second week in February then.
Okay.
I just think that leniency may be to the benefit of the board.
I agree.
Okay, yeah.
So the first Monday, if at all possible, every other month
Okay,
at 4 PM.
I'm fine. Board discussion, I mean, it's a board decision, but
I make a motion that we change it to every other month, starting with February 3rd at 4 PM.
do I have a second?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Everybody's in favor? So,
You said the first Monday,
yeah,
be the
Yeah.
3rd?
Yes.
It would be the 3rd of February would be the next meeting, and I'll secure the room and come back at the next meeting with the whole calendar dates.
okay, okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
so,
It'll be easier to remember.
yeah. Where are we now? Open to
Jay?
the open to the public? Yes. Okay, we are now open to public comments. If you need to speak, state your name and tell us what you're here for.
My name is Bill Antonin. I'm president of Club Recovery. What I'm doing is trying to bring you all up to date. We are still in the process of trying to secure the lease with the county. It has been since June, and it's been a slow process trying to get the lease. But once we do have the lease, I would like to be able to use Mark Hammer as an advisory to the board so that we can try and have one way of just putting all our applications in. So they go through him instead of going through the regular building channel, since he is on the historic. I will be going to the Board of County Commissioners tomorrow at 1 PM and also asking that they indulge us in that too. So I don't know if that's something that you all can do or, but,
What are you asking us to do again? I'm sorry.
pardon?
I'm sorry, what are you asking us to do?
To allow us to use Mark Hammer as our liaison for the Building and Zoning Committee, so that when we're running our plans through, we just run it through him. Since he's on the historical board, he'll know what needs to be done for historical matters and what doesn't. And then we can bring the plans to the next business meeting that you have in order to get it accepted. We're trying to streamline the time it takes us to get things done, because that school has a lot of work.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I know it does.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea because we just got through streamlining everything else for every other month.
yeah.
I think that, if I may, I think that there's gonna be separate parts to this. I believe in the terms that you're looking for, the permit application isn't a simple application, processes or procedures that are not obtrusive and that are not structural in nature, or something that would need a full board review, but something simple like, and area of Floral City, a lot of the times when we have a roof replacement, instead of waiting the 2 months to come before the board, if they have shingle and they're replacing it with the same product, then therefore we eliminate the reason to come before the board review to streamline the process for the applicant at the time. What we'd spoke about was some additional electric being added within the structure for use and conveyance, which would not be a structural in nature and would not be an aesthetic in nature application, in order to streamline such applications in that procedure that is not structural, not aesthetic, and that's going to change the conformity of the building, that instead of coming before the board for review to add a couple of circuits, that the board would bestow me the ability to act on the behalf of the board for a simple application procedure and to give it an approval to issue the permit.
And then it would come back before us and then the BOCC, is that what you're saying?
No, it would just, when a permit is applied for, it doesn't go before the BOCC. It goes before the review board. A permit to, if they want to add electric.
right.
This would be in the circumstance of adding electric, and I'm gonna use
Right.
that for the example. So they need an outlet on this wall.
Yes.
So if they want to put an outlet on this wall, they have to get they have to get a permit.
I thought it was wired for that already.
No, ma'am. There is 2 outlets in that whole auditorium,
Oh, and then.
except for the stage. And that just, if you serve, there's no outlets in the hallways, and to make it where we can use it for what our needs are gonna be in serving the public, we're gonna need to have more outlets in there, and we're gonna need to run a water line for Coffee Pot.
Let me ask you, is it okay if I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
So would this update to the electrical, would that address the issues with the air conditioning and HVAC units?
The issues with the air conditioning and the HVAC, as far as the price goes, is insulation and not electrical. And what we have come up with is to put boards, which are the fiber boards that you see, they're 4x8 sheets, but we'll trim them down to fit in between the joists. And it'll give an R factor of somewhere around 38. And then how we'd like to try and just attach it is just putting a little bit of trim molding, so it would not be a permanent fixture up there. You know, it would just be some brad nails on some 1x1, and when you looked up, it wouldn't change any of the aesthetics as far as what you see now.
Well, I had heard some discussion that there might be mismatching of the units, the actual units themselves. But I didn't know if you had looked into that. or not.
We haven't been able to get into that phase yet without the permit, without signing a lease.
I gotcha.
So right now, what we have done is we have walked through the place with contractor. We've come up with a price tag that is way lowballed after having stuff removed off the walls and everything of $305,000 that it would take just cosmetically to try and bring it up to speed.
When you say cosmetic, what do you mean by that?
Cosmetically means, okay, the floors in there are gonna need to be sanded and refinished.
Yep.
The ceiling, we have to get insulation up there or it's useless. You got a $5,000 a month bill in
Yeah.
the summer.
I know,
There's no use even having air conditioning if it,
yeah,
you know. Okay, the walls, the structure of the walls are all plaster.
right.
We have 2 guys who are from New York City that are old school plasters, and they've looked at it and they can match the plaster.
Oh, cool.
So everything that we do, we'll do as far as the walls and anything like that, we'll do in the same materials and methods that they did in the past. We have that ability. Our fellowship runs the gamut. Club Recovery is, we have all trades. We go from doctors to the guy who's walking in off the street, and all the trades involved. With the electrical, we'll pull all permits that are necessary by the county. We'll follow all county guidelines as far as pulling insurance, making sure they're fully insured and all that. That's in the lease also. our big thing is, once we get in there, we need to do a few things right away to make it feasible. My lease runs out February 9th, where I'm at now.
Yeah,
And so I just talked to the owners before I walked in here. And they're willing to give us a couple months, maybe on month by month, before they need the place. So my issue is, at this time, is timing. And that's one of the reasons with Mark, I can streamline some of the processes down.
now for insulation up there in the high roof and I know that one of the things that we did that was okay and still more permanent, where it wouldn't have, in the historic courthouse, they sprayed kind of a
Foam.
textured,
Yeah.
like they do at stadiums.
Yeah, the problem with that is if they ever wanted to remove it, you can't remove it.
Right, but why would you want to?
Because I don't know,
Okay,
you know, what we're offering here is the cost of running foam is somewhere around $7 a square foot. The cost of running the polyboard insulation, which is 2 layers of 3-inch, is gonna run us somewhere probably around $3 a square foot. And the difference is, if ever you had to get into the roof or make a change on anything, the polyboard can come down real quickly. The other one is stuck into the roof. If you have to change stuff out, whatever you pull out's coming with it.
Yeah.
okay, good. Well, I don't think we'll be pulling that out of the historic courtroom auditorium. The last question I have is, do you have a copy of the restrictive covenants that goes along with the current grant from the state?
I don't know if I do or, I don't think so.
Because that details, do you have a copy of it?
I don't know if I have one printed.
Yeah, I have a copy. I only have 3 copies. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
My computer went down.
Thank you.
And, what? Oh, thanks. It was a little tricky finding that, but
How long has it been taking you to get clearance through when you have asked for, a permit or anything?
We have not been able to even ask for anything because,
please.
You don't have a lease?
right, we were approved by the county in the June county meeting. I didn't get a lease until somewhere in October. I had our attorney look at it, which took 2 weeks. I handed back a signed copy with the changes we had, and then I'm still waiting on word where it is. We had a meeting yesterday with the new commissioner, or Monday, and she was shocked we weren't in there. And she said she would look into it, because she had a meeting with the county attorney and with Eric Head today. So I'm hoping to hear something, because without the lease, I physically can't go in there and try and do anything to get further, and, I can't even get an AC guy up in there to look at it, and we have guys that work at Tampa International that are doing their AC systems. So we have commercial guys that are ready to get up in there and take a look and see if there's anything wrong with the 2 systems.
Okay, my concern or my question and thought on this is that if you've got Mark to go through and he approves or whatever, you don't need to come before this board.
Right, we would still give you an update on whatever we're doing. I have no problem. If we have been streamlined, I will come up in front of the board and say, this is what we've done in the building. So that you all are kept up to date on everything that is being done in the building. I told the county commissioners at their meeting that I would give them a 3-month report on everything that's done to the building and how things are going. Because I don't know if y'all were at the meeting there, but the first classroom that you walk into, which used to be the senior's office, yes?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
physically, it's on the right.
Yeah,
the-
yes, exactly.
The
We're
west
gonna
side.
use that for nonprofits, because right now, nonprofits cannot find space. NAMI's having a big issue, there are others. We're gonna put cubicles in there so that they can actually have a place and we can make it a hub. where they have a cubicle, they've got computer access, they've got internet access. If they need access to a meeting room, they'll have access to meeting rooms. But it won't just be for Club Recovery, it'll be more of a community, building to, it'll be called the Old Schoolhouse Community Center, not Club Recovery. It'll be run by Club Recovery, we'll have the lease, but in order to make it appear to the community more, we decided to start another nonprofit. Well, not another one, we brought another name in under ours, because we had a vote on it and everybody liked the name of the Old Schoolhouse Community Center.
A DBA, you got it.
Yeah, one of the things that we're planning on doing is, to give you an idea, is when you walk in, the first two walls we want to make with pictures of people who've lived here, from in Hernando, so that it's like a living museum. Also, in the auditorium walls, we want to put, ask the community if they would like to put family pictures, or if they have pictures of the past into that. We're also going to do that way with the hallways.
Ms. King, if it's aesthetic or structural, I'm not gonna review it. It's gonna go before the board.
Okay.
I'm not here for anything that's aesthetic or structural. That is board. That's what the board's for. What I'll be, if I was to approve anything, if I was to review anything, it would be something that would be concealed. The electrical, the plumbing, something of substance that can help them move forward, but it's not going to be effective in an aesthetic or a structural or in the manner of which it's gonna be actually visible to the public. I'm not going to approve anything that's going to affect the historical nature if the board was to grant that permission.
Well, my thought was that then you become the board. If he can go to you and get approval for those things that he needs, then, we are,
I'm not putting myself.
Ineffective.
I'm not putting myself in that situation. I don't want to
well,
be in that position.
I would think that puts a whole lot on your shoulders.
I don't want to be in that position. That's why I'm over
I
here.
would think so.
But then the only purpose behind it would be to help expedite the process to get them in there and to facilitate the need for electrical and plumbing.
That makes sense.
So is this something that you have done for other organizations in the past? Is
As
this-
far as organizations, no. I have done it in other situations,
Okay,
where I
so,
was stating with the roofs earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have, the purpose for the board and the review process for the aesthetic nature of such items is to make sure it's still within compliance and the historical characteristics of the house. So when we had an application come in to the building department, and I am a plans examiner within the building department, and I review plans, that's part of my jobs and duties for the building department and for the Canton Government Center. So by order of the ordinance, any application that comes into the building department within the historical district or of historical nature on a structure must go before the Historical Resource Board for review. Understandable. If you have a metal roof that's existing yesterday, and tomorrow they want to put a metal roof on it, and they're the same roof, what's the review process?
right, understood.
And so, in order to expedite it and not hold up the applicant 2 months, I have the use of approval in this circumstance, because if it's good enough yesterday and it's the same thing they want tomorrow, so be it. No need to create an undue burden by, extending this 2 months because we just had our meeting, we can't go short to the meeting for 2 months. That's the circumstances in which it has been applied. There has been circumstances where windows come in for application, and I say, no, it goes for the board.
But that, certainly understand the logic behind it and the intention behind it, but wondering if this was us, approving your request is setting some sort of precedent, if it's moving outside of the norm of kind of what's,
It's-
standard practices in the past, or?
It's used in a very simplistic nature so that undue hardship is not created.
And I have one further
Yes.
question for you. You had mentioned, as you were talking about your plans and stuff for the building, you had mentioned that you have members, from all walks of life. So is the intention to have members do all of the work inside the building?
No, well, the members will do we'll volunteer our labor to do like the plastering, because we have the knowledge to do it.
Okay, do you have and my biggest concern is, do you have the licenses and the insurance and the expertise
me
and the
answer.
qualifications and certifications? That would be my biggest concern.
May I answer this?
Yes, Mark.
He cannot. They cannot. Only licensed
Okay.
contractors under a permit can perform the works and duties of that licensure.
Okay,
That's,
yeah, that would be my assumption, and certainly would be best practice. I just got a little concerned when they were talking about members doing the work. And
yes, and that's Florida Building Code. So essentially, you can supply labor in the means of which it is not a contracted service.
Right. I don't know that plastering holes in walls is a contracted service. It's not.
That would be fine.
Yeah, but anything that would be, like with the insulation, that's the first thing we need to get onto when we get in there. So as soon as I need the lease, I'd like to try and get pre-approval from the board to be able to go in there and insulate the ceiling. We'll, bring a licensed contractor in for what we need, and we have the labor to help him to do that.
Are you?
Yep, I'm done.
Okay.
There's really a lot that can be done, and there's a few things that need to be considered when doing work on historic structures. And of course, a lot of things can be done with inside the building as long as it can be reversed. And so, as long as it's, easy and not too costly to do that, that's fine and dandy. Outside the building, that's a different story. For example, to change not maybe the material of the roof, but the roof line.
Yes.
Or an addition to the building, or the windows, or it has brick, by putting something over brick. So those are the main things to keep in mind. And there's lots of, I feel my role here on the board is to make this as easy for you as possible, keeping in mind all of these things too. That's my goal, education, awareness, and moving these things along, because that's what we're here for, as quickly as possible, because we now understand your needs. And so that's really kind of my position. And in terms of your nonprofit, how many members do you have? Approximately, it doesn't have to be.
Approximately got probably 100 members, but we serve, on Thanksgiving, we had free turkey, free food, and we had 125 people walk through the place that day.
Yeah.
We do what we call an alkathon, because in the addiction, in the alcoholic and addiction, holidays are really tough on people, especially if they're estranged with the family. So we stay open for 36 hours. We start on Christmas Eve at 9 a.m. and we stay open till Christmas night at 10 p.m. And we do that same thing on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. And the reason for that is because we're here for them.
Right.
It's not for us. We're not here to, and especially the people who are just getting sober or getting clean, they need some type of structure where there's fellowship that's healthy.
Yeah, and where is your physical location right now?
We are on 486 in what, Anvil? 2500 North Anvil Terrace.
That's in Citrus County.
Yeah, we're up there, if you know where Sauce Togs is.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're coming up the hill, right next to the storage center,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we're the next building, but you can't see it. It's a big open field, and you barely see the top of the building.
So you're already in Citrus County.
Oh, we've been in, Oscar and I are two of the ones who started it. We opened up May 5th, 2012. We've never had a paid employee.
Hey, We know, Bill.
Yeah, we've been open for, we had to shut down briefly during COVID. But like I say, we get our funds through passing the baskets
Yes.
and from rent from the groups. It's a big haul to bring something up like this.
Oh, yeah.
But we understand that it's necessary for the community because there's not many people, there are a lot of people who would want to move in there, but I don't think there's a lot of people who want to drop $500,000 into the place to get it feasible.
No, but there could be, could there be county grants in the future, even though they're the leasee or leaseor, whichever?
And it's still the building.
Yeah, they
It's
still
just for
own
the
the
structure,
building.
not the tenant
Yeah.
or occupant.
The only thing now with this, and maybe smaller grants would be better, but the larger grants, of course, there has to be a one-to-one cash match. But there might be other resources out there to, move things along. And I think what you're doing is great. And please keep coming back to this board because the one person who knows probably more about the school than all of us put together here is Candace Bellamy McPherson, and maybe she's met with you
Oh,
all.
we've met with her many
Yeah,
times.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
she's
you
on
know
board.
her. I wish
Yeah.
she was here today.
She got stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, would there be a problem trying to get pre-approval on the insulation because if they sign the,
No, I just. I
Can
was
we do
gonna
that
ask
before
you,
they
let's-
have a lease?
What are we getting down to? And if we're getting down to do the pre-approval from the insulation, does somebody wanna make a motion and to do this?
I don't know, can we do that? Is that proper before they have a lease? They're not even technically a tenant yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that. And I certainly don't
Yeah.
have a problem with it, but
Yeah.
doesn't do us any good to do that for you if we're putting the cart before the horse.
I don't even think there's a permit to require for insulation.
No.
I just want, if we get the lease, right now, we're looking hopefully early January. As soon as that lease is signed, we want to get on the building. And that's my only, the earlier I can get in there and start getting some of the things done, the sooner I can give the building back to our landlord.
And the insulation you're talking about, just like this is something that can be reversed.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, you just take it out.
yes,
So it's nothing's gonna happen to it. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. I just don't know the right way, if we can do it.
There's not a right way at this time because they do not have possession of the building, so you can't really grant them permission, can't grant anybody permission for something that they don't have.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's probably what the attorney would say.
I would ask the question, would there be any opposition to them in the future installing insulation at the methods that they had described, which would be non-permanent, removable, and, it wouldn't change the structure in any manner?
It would
Would-
be white, though. It couldn't be painted the color. It would be white. It couldn't be painted.
it'd be brown. You would never see it up there.
Okay, cool.
The question I would think you would want to ask is, would the board have an issue if that was done in the future, if you do gain possession?
Would the board have a problem with that, and would the board have a problem with us going through Mark Hammer for compliance?
Do we need to make an official motion for their original request?
And I'd break it down.
Do I hear a second?
So, all right, so I'll make a motion that Club Recovery be able to utilize Mark Hammer as a liaison for the board for all matters non-aesthetic and non-structural.
Do I have a second?
I make a second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Passed.
Insulation.
You want a motion?
I don't know if you need a motion, I'd just have a discussion, because he can come back for that later if need be. But it would give him a direction, it would give a direction for the installation in the future.
I just want to thank you all. Candy's been I've gotten some original blueprints, and I believe she sent off there's a zip drive that I think she sent off to us that has almost all the additions since the beginning. And so that's gonna give us a real help on understanding the integrity of what the building started out as. And we've got a lot of people in the construction building, so we are definitely want to keep it practices and materials as close to norm as possible.
And Chairman, but it certainly sounded to me like there is consensus of the board that if you're granted the lease, if your intention is to utilize those insulation boards that match the color of the ceiling and easily removable,
Yes,
that would be
yes.
Yes,
acceptable.
so,
Well, I thank you all for your time, and we will be back. I'm a historic buff, so I definitely enjoy sitting through some of this stuff. I learned today that this county was actually one county,
Yes.
Hernando.
1887,
Yeah, so
it's switched back.
I thank you very much.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming. Come again.
And
Can
I hate to interrupt, but we need to go back to the beginning. I did not include the approval of the minutes in my vacation haste.
Quite all right. Where would you like us to put it? Right now?
C.5.
C.5?
What are we doing?
Approving the minutes from the
Oh,
last
okay, okay.
board meeting.
The only thing that I saw was that the date on the top was still August 5th, even though, and until I saw on the previous agenda, I forgot about it too, but we had actually changed the meeting from the 5th to the 26th.
Thank you for catching that.
August
I will make that correction.
26th on the agenda and the minutes.
What was the correction?
The
The date.
26th, August 26th was the date of the meeting due to the hurricane.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I have a question about these restrictive covenants that Kathy
Not yet.
had.
Can
Not yet.
can we
Yeah,
finalize the
yeah.
approval of
Somebody
minutes?
needs
I'm
to
sorry, I
make a
thought we were done.
No,
Okay.
we need a
Motion.
motion and a second.
I need
Okay,
a motion for the approving the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes
Need a
as,
second?
with the correction indicated.
Got a second from you?
second, yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous?
All right, we're gonna go to K for staff comments, then we're gonna come back up to D. So,
Well, let me ask you a question here. Besides us, they have somebody else that has eyes on this, the state of Florida, right?
Oh, yeah.
correct.
Okay. I know, all right. So,
I'm gonna do staff comments, I'll abbreviate it, and then we'll come back to the historical guidelines, preservation and such. I've been involved with the CLG seminars, Certified Local Government Seminars, hosted by the Historical Preservation Department of the National Park Service in partnership with the Historic Preservation on the state level. And just as an update, this was the year-end update that they did last month. As of now, there are 85 CLGs in the state of Florida between counties and municipalities, making Florida the fourth largest state in the country as far as CLGs go.
Wow.
At the time that the group I was with was working on the ordinance, there was 67. We became the 68th county municipality, now up to 85. There's 3 applications currently in, and Yankeetown is one of the applications. And 4 CLGs revised their ordinances last year, I believe us being one of them, where we had updated it for our membership. Sarasota is implementing a program to include mobile homes.
Whoa.
Hey, Key West, one of the things they brought to the table, or that they brought forward, was with their frame vernacular homes that they have down there. They're having issues responding to the floods we just had, or the storms we just had, as far as FEMA regulations requiring to elevate the structures to come into compliance. They're having problems elevating the structure, not elevating the structures, they're having problems with their stair systems. Because you have to have setbacks off your property lines, and so much clearance off your property lines that they're putting in the staircases, they don't have enough room to put the staircases to run down to the ground.
Which forces people to have to, if they're gonna be there, buy elevators.
Or wrap it around their house if they have enough distance.
Yeah.
So Key West is having issues complying with FEMA standards of elevation, now getting down to the ground. Pinellas County, and I thought this was pretty interesting, might dive into it later or deeper, or, I don't know. But Pinellas County has started an outreach program with the Realtors Association about historic preservation, to the point where they give a presentation, including a slideshow and PowerPoint, to the Realtors Association, or whatever their group is down there.
Realtor or builders, you could.
Which I thought was kind of interesting, so that when they go to sell, they at least have some background and knowledge on it. But I think that, Pinellas County has a little bit larger historic district than we do.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think that that's pretty interesting.
They have some.
Ruben, who was the liaison at the state level, he had suggested whenever we're ready to do an application for a grant, to send a public records request to the state and request copies of the top 3 grants in that application from the year before,
Okay.
to use as a guideline and to give us substance and to see how it's done and how to go about it, and maybe steal some or borrow verbiage. That was one of his suggestions, which I thought was pretty good. The survey grants, they're due in April. I would like to proceed or try and pursue applying for a grant in the 2026 application schedule. I think to try and apply this April would be far-fetched, not do anybody any justice. We wouldn't have the time to properly prepare it. I think it would be better off to prepare it properly and to take the time to investigate and do a thorough job with it. There's 2 types of applications, or 2 types of surveys that can be done, phased or thematic. Phased would be if you have a large area, and then you break it down into groups, and you do it in phases. Or the thematics is a targeted approach, where you target certain and specific sites that you would like to get identified. I think with what we have within our county, it's actually worth the conversation as to see what's gonna suit our county better, because it's kind of spread out. But do we have a targeted basis as to what we could investigate? I don't think we have enough of a targeted area. I think we have several targeted areas. That's a conversation for a later date. But Ms. Turner Thompson and I did meet with, well, Ms. Turner Thompson met with Mr. Howard, and I rode along. But
No, I was glad
during
you were there.
during that meeting, we did have a brief discussion on grants, and he did offer the assistance of some
Grant.
county employees helping to write the grant,
Oh,
which is a hurdle in itself.
yes.
So if the county, if Mr. Howard can provide a means or an avenue for the county to help us write a grant, that's a big hurdle in itself that we've already overcome.
Yes.
And the last part is, at last month's BOCC meeting, I don't remember the individual's name, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Camper Izzard Boat Ramp
Oh, yeah.
off of C-39, which was part of, Seminole Indian Wars.
Right.
Had to get the war right. And it ties in with Dade City and Fort Cooper State Park, Kings Trail, Fort King, all that, it all ties together. But anyway, there used to be a boat ramp location off of C-39 that the private property owner needed the county permission to use. He decided that relationship's over. I used to use this boat ramp as a kid, back in high school, back in the 80s. His own personal reasons, the agreement's not there anymore, but there is a group that is interested in saving and preserving that area and bringing recognition to that area. And in the future, he had mentioned trying to secure funds for a historical marker to go up to that site. So I thought I'd share that. That's all I got.
Yep.
We've heard something about that area, right?
Yeah.
What was that man?
Max Schulman, he's on the TDC board.
No, that park, they wanted to make a park there, that man that was killed back in the Seminole Wars, was it?
That's the same thing.
That's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, the actual site is on the north side of the river, and that's state land, FDEP.
And that's in part where the boat ramp came in was,
Was it on the north side too?
no, the boat ramp's on the south side.
Okay, that's what, yeah.
But that gave the access to the north side of the river, that area.
Well, you know, the thing about, of course, this is a historic period, but, and they've done investigations up there where, I don't know, Gary Ellis is very familiar with this. And of course, if it's state land, a lot of these state sites, without oversight on the property, it opens it up to people who want to, you know, if there is anything there, might want to come and remove it. And that's why technically archaeological sites are exempt from public records. So, you know, we have that whole long list that, you know, there's a good chunk of them that are archaeological sites. And as a result of that article, someone called into the Historical Society and the museum and asked for specific coordinates. And thank goodness they checked into it and they didn't. You know, you don't have to give them that, you know. When people are asking for specific coordinates, they're looking for something specifically. And
But I believe that the location, he didn't want to put it specifically on that site. I believe he wanted it within the area of
Right.
where that boat ramp was, just to bring recognition to that area. He didn't want to put a flag down.
yeah,
Or
and
put-
so I think the best thing for him to do is maybe go to, you know, whoever oversees the management of that site through the state and see what their ideas are.
Yep.
Because I think recognizing these sites are good. You know, they did that for Hernando de Soto out on 40, what is,
41,
no, going east,
that's 40,
south though, south through Floral City. What is-
48.
Is that 48? Yes, it is.
41.
It is 48. No, going south, going east.
Oh, okay.
48, it is
Yeah.
48. Whee!
Even numbers go east and west, odd numbers go
Yeah,
north
yeah.
and south.
Well, I don't know if it has any number, but there is a marker out there. It has to have a number, of course, by a little way station. It's not any, I mean, it's not, you know, where he went through there, he was looking for a place to cross the Withlacoochee River. And so, it's in the vicinity, but it's definitely not close. And, you know, that kind of thing, you know, a lot of these things are not accessible unless you have permission to be on public lands or private lands. And when somebody starts to talk to me, I often say, you know, if it's on public lands, you cannot take things off of public lands. If it's private, be careful what you might be looking down the barrel of, right?
Yeah, yep.
You may not like what you find.
Right, right. But great, yeah, I think it's a great idea that that man can be recognized somehow. Thank you, Mark.
Moving on,
Okay.
that's you.
Okay, so we all got a copy of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, or the amendment to the ordinance. And I don't know if you all remember the last time that we were here together, I talked about some goals. And actually, I've redone them, but my computer went down and I couldn't print them out before the meeting. So could I send them to you, Gina, and have you send them out when my computer comes back up? Let's see, it was down when I left. What I did was, though, I took what I handed out at last meeting, and I kind of meshed it in with the purposes from the ordinance on page 1 here. And I tied those together, and there's still 4 main goals and objectives. And of course, let's see, the first one was to maintain this, a system for surveying and inventory of historic properties, and what you talked about as far as moving forward with those. And, you know, what we have, like I said, that list of 11 or 12 or 14, I think there's 1,400 sites on the Florida Master Site File now. And a lot of them are archaeological sites, a lot of them are in the city of Inverness and in the city of Crystal River, and a lot of them are on public lands. So really, that doesn't leave a whole lot of historic sites for the county, you know, looking at Homosassa and Floral City. Floral City, it's just the avenue of the oaks, and that's probably the way they want it. They're doing a fine job down there, I think. And so I think a big part of a survey or a grant for a survey would be the, let's see, deleting the demolished structures that aren't any longer here. I think that would be, let's see, and unfortunately I had that in my notebook, but I said, oh, I'm not gonna need that list. So I took it out. But my thought is, you know, in addition to this survey grant, which is only, and I might be jumping around, I better get the agenda so I don't confuse you guys with the facts. Let's see, here it is. My idea is that the survey grant, you say, Mark, is only one time a year in April, right?
Correct.
But we can apply for other grants outside that cycle at pretty much whatever time we want. Is that true?
I believe so. I don't think that there's a limitation on grants. I think there's just a limitation on issuance.
Okay, because it's been a long time since I've been in that tedious.
But the survey grant is reviewed every April.
Okay, so what I was thinking was, I was wondering if we maybe could get somebody to submit something for us in terms of creating a guidelines for the ordinance. And, you know, kind of, here, I'll pass this out. I have some copy. It's right here, 1, 2, 3. This talks about creating design guidelines.
I have a copy of that.
Did I give you that, Mark?
I do have a copy of that.
Okay, well, there's another one if you need it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to dwell on this because I want to get out of here soon. Only kidding, you can have all the rest for this.
You said you had that, Mark?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, because this is way out of anybody's scope I know, and so I really would think that it would take a professional to be able to do something like this. And of course, my degree is not historic preservation.
Now, Ruben Acosta at the state,
Uh,
he oversees this department. He's the one that oversees the grants. He's the one that reviews the grants.
Okay.
He's also the one that said, call up and ask for the top 3 grant applications so that you can fill it out easier.
Okay. I don't mind calling him.
With any questions or anything that he said, it's open. I can give you his contact
Okay,
information.
I think I have it.
And that's where when I was at that table.
Yes.
That was a lot of the communication I did was directly with the state
Right.
in order to bring back information.
Right. And so I just wanted to hand that out as part of this design guideline and say maybe we could table it to another time or the next meeting or whatever, and I'll contact Ruben and see what's going on with that. You know, of course, I handed out the restrictive covenants for the school because it's still under the restricted covenants term because it's not been 10 years. So, let's see, if we don't want to lose money and have to turn money back into the state from the money that we received, then we probably would want to try to follow these as best we can. It talks about, you know, if you violate it within first 5 years, how much you have to get back. They wait to the 7th anniversary of getting the last special category grant to say that you will be required to return 80% of the original grant amount. And somewhere I had those numbers, and I can send them to Gina again. I don't have them here right with me, but it was really interesting trying to get a copy of this document. I went over, usually this is attached to the deed, and I think there's a reference to it, but the actual covenant isn't attached to it. So somebody maybe, let's see, didn't get it recorded, because when I went to the clerk of court's office, they couldn't find this. They couldn't find this restrictive covenants. And so I asked the, I contacted the state. I don't know if I talked to Ruben or maybe Scott Edwards or somebody, but they sent this, and so, you know, I think we would want to make sure that anybody in that school in the next few years is following this. But like, it's not, you know, like I said, there's a lot you can do inside of a building, and as long as it's reversible, like you said, Mark, that's not an issue. And make sure that, you know, before they leave, they would return it to its whatever. Otherwise, you know, the owner would be responsible for that if that was, you know, if anything else was decided on that. So that's that restrictive covenants thing. And,
Well, let me ask you a question. This is for 10 years, right?
yeah, 10 years.
So it expires December 16th.
Is that when it, no, we haven't been in,
It said from the date of recordation by the clerk of the circuit court, so
Oh,
you
dear.
said you couldn't find when it was
Start the
recorded?
clock over.
Pardon?
If it's recorded today, it starts the clock over. If it hasn't been recorded,
well, I can go back and see, but,
but if it's not recorded, it should be recorded. And if this was recorded today,
Well, if they recorded it the date that it was signed, or,
oh, usually, you know
The
what?
covenants were entered in 16th day of December 2014.
Right, and I was always under the
but
impression.
it was notarized in
no,
two
no,
thousand
keep
fifteen.
reading that though. It
Yeah.
shall be effective for a period of 10 years from the date of recordation by the clerk of courts.
And my understanding was it was always 10 years after the completion of the grant. 2014 is when the grant, let's see, was it,
Was given. and-
Yes,
And
yeah.
this is
Your
recorded.
understanding?
was 10 years after the,
It's not stated in this.
I know,
though.
I know. So there you go. I can look into this too.
Now, would the date of recording be the same date that the board adopted it? Because
Adopted,
These covenants.
the commission meetings and everything are,
Becomes part
it
of the
wouldn't
public
be the
record.
clerk, it's a part of the clerk of the courts when you called looking for information, but it was
Couldn't find
probably
it.
in the records department, not in commission records.
I went to the annex where the clerk is and worked
Right.
with somebody over there. It
So-
says executed and sealed by me this date 2015.
Yeah, 128, January.
Yeah. So, you know, here, this is
We got
open
another
for
month.
interpretation or an attorney.
It's kind of short to get anything done if you're going by the dates.
Right.
But certainly if this is not recorded, because a deed, right, a deed to the property should, I would assume that the deed would reference this in there, and this should be recorded, because it should be, you know, connected to that deed for that property.
Right. The state, back when the historic courthouse was going through its restoration, let's see, they didn't have any restrictive covenants, as the state didn't. And when they started that, and it was unclear about, you know, how smooth and how long it was gonna take to restore the courthouse, I think the state decided that, you know, they needed a way to protect their investment.
Right.
And so they came up with this restrictive covenants. They never had restrictive covenants as
Well,
for the,
reading this though, it says if violations of the effective date, and this is telling you the effective date is 16th of December.
Right.
So is the, and I'm not familiar, so.
And it's not who recorded it, it was whatever.
But
I'm-
down
I'm
on number,
learning an awful
down
lot
on
from
number
this group,
6,
but
it
are
clearly
these
states
intended
the
to be
owner
permanent
agrees to file
documents?
these
yes.
covenants.
Okay, so
Okay.
they're
Clerk of the
intended to
court.
be a permanent
And the
occurrence
owner
on
is,
the
Property.
ownership of that property.
Yes, yes. And in
the
fact,
owner is the county board?
yes.
The Board of County Commissioners, and if that direction wasn't made during that board meeting for them to record this, then it wouldn't have been recorded.
Right,
And we could go back to the,
Well, but that should, they had to pay all the, everything associated with that, but in the eyes of the state, that's the effective date.
I should give it to legal, let them deal with it.
yeah,
If there is a question from the board,
right,
I would suggest directing it to legal.
Yes,
If the
for
board
sure.
did have issue with it,
yeah,
Right.
because this is beyond the understanding of me,
right, right.
and there's a team especially put up for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd
Right.
throw it at them if there is question.
You will? Did you say you'd throw it at them?
The board, it'd be the board's discretion. If the board would like to push this forward to legal for guide, or for direction,
I think so.
please make a motion to ask Mark to,
Have this reviewed by legal.
have this reviewed by
Okay,
legal.
Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we ask Mr. Hammer to have legal review this restrictive covenants and clarify to us how this goes with the deed.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
okay, so I'll have legal review the documentation in itself and give us direction on the documentation as such, the dates and the effective dates.
Yes.
Expiration dates, and how it directly ties in with the deed.
Yeah,
Okay.
the deed and the grant.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Hey, I think we're done. Oh, wait, excuse me, one last thing I want to hand out, and say about the mission and the goals. Did anybody ever get this from previous, I know you have it, Mark, I know you have it, Gina. Did anybody see this document? It's, from a previous board?
Oh,
Mission
from previous board,
statement.
say, did we?
It's
I believe
we
that I
got that
gave
when we-
everyone a copy of
Yeah, when we
those.
And I was probably not here that day. But it talks about the mission statement, the
Yeah, you
goals,
did.
the projects. It was
did.
probably that first day that I
Yes,
wasn't here.
yes,
And then the goals and objectives, so,
right.
we have some of these things I think we can go back to in terms of when we're talking about our committees and so on and so forth. You know, like I said to the gentleman, my big thing is, education and awareness, because, there's, here, I'll pass these out. I'm not the expert. I don't have a degree in historic preservation. This is just discussing what historic preservation is from the National Park Service. It gives more information to study, or take a look at, so on and so forth. And what I'm learning out there is, and we can learn, all of us can learn as we go along. Gee, I learn something new every day. That's why I love history and protecting historical resources. And so, and I like sharing that information with people because I oftentimes find out that they don't really understand historic preservation. And I thought, that's the least we should do, right? That's it.
Thank you for this.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. I want to go home. No.
Staff, do you have anything?
next meeting's February.
Third.
February 3rd?
Third at 4:00.
Okay, if nobody's has anything else to say, we now adjourn the meeting.
Christmas, Happy
Yes.
New Year.
Christmas,
Yeah,
everyone.
yes, yeah.
Everyone be safe and have
Yes.
a happy holiday.